Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming and joining this session today. Soul Mitra Samvad was an initiative of all three of us as family to bring the Vedic science to the domain of the common masses today. And it is an initiative to share the simple forms of Vedic wisdom to every person on this earth for their optimum use on a daily how they can interpret it in their daily lifestyle for their family. So with our a small prayer to Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Gam Ganpate Namo Nama, and finally the topic of our discussion today, Saturn, Om Shanishcharaya Nama. We will start our session today. The basic idea of what we are talking on the topic of Saturn today being on a Saturday is that do remember that when it comes to the topic of karma in the world that we live today, human beings seem to believe that they have mastered over the subject of karma. They know it all. They know whatever karma means. While it is very important and significant to mention over here that even after the recitation of 750 verses of the Bhagavad Gita, when it comes to the topic of karma, Arjuna asked Krishna, what do you mean by karma? Kindly explain this to me. And at that time, Krishna smiles and he says that karma is a subject beyond human comprehension. It is, to that matter, it is beyond the comprehension of the gods themselves. So what it means is very simply that over the time, we have always looked at the Vedic science, the astrological domain. The bouquet of the Vedic science consists of lot of domains of astrology. It consists of Ayurveda, yoga, and so on. But we always thought about the Bhagavad Gita also to be just a religious context, keeping it in our mandir, doing a lot of austerities towards it. But did we really try to understand what it was trying to tell you? So what would be a better topic to start on the discussion on the journey of the Soul Mitra Samvad than to take the most feared planet, the most revered planet of the celestial system, being the Lord Saturn himself, who is the accountant of all our past life and all our karmic debts. See, do remember that Saturn represents the planet giving you the authority over time. It is talking about all the things of signification with respect to discipline. It is talking about restraint. It is talking about the patience that you live with in this life. And when it is the control of the time itself, then do understand that without his interference, without his allowing you to do so, nothing is going to make a headway. That's how we all start. It is the only planet among all the other benefic planets which can give you for permanence. It will be very surprising for you to understand or to know that every other planet will give you materialistic desires, but when it wants to pull it away, it will do it at any time. But Saturn never believes in doing so because he makes you hard work. It makes you work on all these domains of your life because it wants you to achieve impermanence. Once Saturn gives you and you have received it, it will always be there with you forever. So as Buddha mentions in his most of his sayings, and one of the very common and the saying which I could connect to, it is said that pain is certain, but suffering is optional. If you understand this motto behind what Saturn wants to tell you, then remember that you have conquered most of your troubles or obstacles that will come into your life. The answer, do always appreciate and remember, is not in the outside. Whoever might have told you that look out to somebody for the answer in your life, to take away the trouble in your life, to take away the problems in your life, or to handle the situation of your life, the answer is never outside. It is always within you. For that matter, even on the journey of karmic alignment, which I work on personally, it is only activating, using it as a catalyst to connect your soul to your life journey and to the life purpose. So before I move into the detailed topic of what our discussion today, there are some few formalities that I need to pass through. See, First of all, a lot of people do not know me personally. So I would like to take a few minutes to explain and to try to resonate with the viewers here. Who am I? Because eventually in any spiritual domain, that is the question that we always begin with. So I would first like to introduce myself as Sarvesh Shirvekar. I'm a Goan by birth and a world citizen at heart. Up to the last decade, I was only an architect and a project management consultant. But it was by profession until to that point in my life, I was drawn into the Vedic science, which I now follow sincerely as a life path. So what are the two primary agenda for me in this lifetime is very simply one being to connect to the karmic alignment, to the life purpose of each and every individually. But what is most important for me is to bring respectability to the Vedic science. That is my entire way and thrust towards life domain. So what is very important is that how did my journey begin into karmic alignment? Many of you would like to know, how did I enter into a domain of karmic alignment? See, this is a long story. If I have to really start and explain to you what actually drew me into this domain, it was only a life-changing moment for me when I realized that the most integral part of the Vedic science is directed towards an individual to find the route towards moksha. Now, this was a life-defining moment for me. I said and I found that if a person can identify how to find the moksha, how to get out of the cycle of life and death, right from the time of your birth chart, then all the other things are only possibilities. At a personal level, I have faced immense pressure in my personal life at young age, where maybe it drew me to the verge of suicide. And it is only a miracle today that I'm aligning a lot of people towards their own life karma. This is only possible with the intention and the intervention of the divine. So I decided to make something about what is my knowledge and to the benefit of the masses, especially to those teens or to those late, teens into the 20s, towards their 30s, who are completely disoriented, to understand what is their purpose of life, what are they supposed to do. And that is what was my mission, which I started. And that was one kind of a seed which started the entire focus of karmic alignment. So what is my mission eventually, if you may ask, is simply to connect the souls to their life purpose, identifying the area and the focus indicated in their birth chart. It is my belief that the faster and the earlier one connects to align to their life purpose, the faster and the easier resolution will start happening. There is no way you can escape other than paying off your debts. And that is eventually the reason why you're coming as a human being on this planet. So it brings me utmost soul happiness to see and receive feedback from seekers after their karmic alignment. The timeline might differ. Somebody might come back to me in a month, somebody might come back to me in 3 months, but it definitely happens. It transforms their life. I feel very satisfied at that moment. I look at myself standing at that feet at 25 years of my age, and every time I get that feedback, that is the kind of soul happiness I find in terms of the transformational happening in that person's life, which in turn I feel somehow resonates with my own life. And that feeling, let me assure and tell you, it is completely priceless. So Soul Mitra Samvad is an extension of that arm to break the taboo of the Vedic science, the way it is perceived in the human domain today in our society, so that it connects to the masses in the divine knowledge, so that it can be used towards human upliftment. The foundation of the Vedic science, or the karmic alignment in that matter, is working very simply on a principle that our life is 60% predestined and 40% totally free will. So that is that free will that we need to control totally. And in my personal observation of so many charts, it is very important to understand what is the requirement of our free will and how we connect it to our life purpose, to identify the debts, to align our mind, to align our body and to align our soul towards making the right and informed decisions towards your life. And then finally, it's not a miracle that all the events and whatever happenings you're thinking, experiential things in your life will happen. It is my belief that there is a true guide. And if I have to guide somebody by means of the Vedic science, then I have to release him from life. That is why the karmic alignment focuses on the principle of one session for life. Because if somebody has to be dependent on the knowledge for a regular basis, they have to come every time to somebody to get an answer in their life, that is never going to be the right way. So it is a one single session for life policy. So the trailer and the vision for me with respect to the karmic alignment is simple. It is about creating a desire to take masses and connect them to their sole purpose. But unfortunately, what happens is this: however good my intention might be to make an alignment session, it takes me about 12 hours of hard work. In that time, I would have loved to take it much more to the masses, but I'm starting on that journey. Let us see how divine supports and we go about it. To read much more about the work that we are doing in terms of connecting it to the masses, you can read our work on terms of the Facebook page, which is the Soul Mitra. The link is in the description, shared in the chat box. And also you can join our page, which is the Common Man's Drishta Sutram, which is a totally, like a closed group where we will try to share a lot of information. And of course, my earlier YouTubes on this session to give you some kind of an idea about what the story of karmic alignment is. Before I address this topic onto the depth of Saturn, what is very important to understand, there are a lot of myths I've seen where people ask me, and there is some kind of a questionnaire which always comes to my mind after all the sessions which I have done till date. I initially only started to do one session, but by grace of God and by the divine will, I am not stopped counting the number of sessions that I'm doing today. That's only being possible with some kind of divine grace. So what happens is very simple. The first myth is that the people always feel that the more you're learning about the subject of the Vedic science, the more better it gets. But believe me, what is my philosophy, and if anyone who has tried to study Vedic science and try to go into the depth of astrology, you will understand that astrology will never come to you until it decides so. I'm not talking about myself, or I'm not giving weightage in terms of the knowledge that I possess, but what I've seen is that if you have to be successful in terms of whatever you're doing in the Vedic science, then your intention should be the topmost important domain of your life. So that is what I feel, that I've got some kind of a success in kind of a resonation of the karmic alignment. Karmic alignment never interferes with your pending karma. A lot of people ask me this question. It is not about interfering. Karma cannot be interfered by means of karmic alignment, but what it does, it pushes you towards the right domain, putting your efforts in the right place so that you can tackle all your karmic debts, and eventually that is the only reality. And karmic alignment is totally solution based. There is nothing that I can tell you that it cannot be sorted. Everything has the reason. And when the chart was done for you, for every human being, obviously there has been a solution also. Divinity, you see, everybody feels Vedic science and they are on the common wavelength that Vedic science has got a divine support. If it is a divine support, I was always curious to know how is it so possible that the divine told you the problem but did not give you the solution. So I always believe that this is a solution-based approach. It resonates with the philosophy of Vasudeva Kutumbakam. That means there are readers, seekers from all over the world, different communities, different religion, but yet you can do the similar kind of interpretation as per that person's chart. Karmic alignment is not a remedy-based process. It is not a gemstone-based process, because it is nothing about expediting your events because you did something. It will definitely take you to the point in a peaceful, balanced way. Many are not aware, but 80% of remedial measures which are prescribed in astrological world today are only targeting your mind. It is just that you are not aware about it. So the karmic alignment is a Vedic science-based approach. It is the mother of all the root of all the sciences. So large number of I can assure you and I can tell you very wholeheartedly that there are so many people who are psychologists, who are healers, who are pranic healers, who are akashic healers. I've been always surprised at how these people are coming to me for karmic alignment. So that resonates more with my strength and belief that karmic alignment has the power to actually handle anybody in terms of what their experiential, in terms of the desire and kind of connecting to their life purpose. This has been the takeaways. So what happens is very simply is that all the domains are always coming from the root of the Vedic science. And that is why if you go to most of the domains of the healing modalities, I have nothing against any modality, but they have got limitations by means of not being able to provide you that kind of a solution. So what happens is very simple. What I want to talk to you about now, and which has been my theme of the interpretation, one sutra I'm going to release at every session of mine. So what it says is very simple. It has been my observation of so many readings and so many charts that the karmic alignment, or in terms of the karma the people are paying back between the timeline of the ages of 48 and 60, this is the time when all the pending karmas of an individual slowly get passed on to your children. So what happens is this, that more you start moving towards the age of 60, inversely proportional, your karma, whatever has been balanced in your own lifetime, starts pushing towards the children. This has been the observation that I've seen in so many of my readings, in so many of my research. So what happens is this, most of the time people are of the misconception, especially the mothers I see, when they come to me, they feel, especially who have crossed the age of 48 and 50, they think that I have nothing to play out now. Most of the life maybe I've suffered or so and so. It is only about my children now. But if you ever want to really help your children, you need to actually work on the domain of karmic alignment and get your karma in terms of an alignment to pay your debts. That's the most important thing. I'm not saying you come to karmic alignment. What I'm saying is very simple. Identify your karma by means of learning the Vedic science on your own. And then if it is possible, please pay your debts in that direction. Now, why do I say this very strongly? It is very simple. In the classics of astrology, it is always mentioned that once Jupiter starts moving in the age group of 48 to 60, that is in the cyclic domain of your chart, what it is saying very simply, that now once you start moving at the age of 48 and above, Saturn starts taking the control of your life. So after 60, it is 100% in the hands of Saturn. He is a very definite judge. He's a very definite taskmaster, and it will all start giving you the results of the effects, whatever karma you have started paying in this life, what you have not paid in this lifetime, and what you are bringing in from your past lifetime. Have you ever imagined, there must be so many people in this audience today or in general in your scenario who always ask you this question, कि हमने तो जिंदगी में इतना अच्छा काम किया, but why do I never get this benefit? Why am I suffering? Why have I been, why did I lose my job when I was doing everything right? See, very simply, you want to see the report card of your life. After 48, your eye should be towards your children. If your children are not experiencing any issues in their own personal life, if they are getting some kind of an alignment in their own life where they are finding a good life partner, they are getting stable in terms of whatever things they are doing in their own life, then rest assured, your debts have been paid. So that is how is the interpretation of the karmic component of the Saturn in your own chart. So that is something, an assurance to all those people जिनको लगता है कि we have crossed the age of 48, but we are still, we have done so many good things in our life that we don't see those results. I still don't have that house. I still don't have that kind of alignment to spirituality. I still don't enjoy that kind of marital happiness. Be rest assured, if you have done your work in terms of attention, and if you have given justice to whatever you have been doing in terms of wholeheartedly, then rest assured the time is come that you're going to get benefits. The only problem or the only way is that your children is going to get that kind of benefit, and it might not be you alone. So that is the only way the karma works. Why that happens, that answer I do not have. but that is what it happens. That means there's a cyclic of karma coming from your grandparents onto you, onto your parents, then to you. So you have to pay back that kind of debt. So now moving to the concept of what is our topic today is the debt of Saturn. So I'm going to share the presentation with respect to what I'm going to share with you today is, so now I'm going to talk about today's topic. But before I go into the topic, a slight, some kind of inputs that I need to do. That means to let you allow to understand what actually is the story behind and how the basic principles of karmic alignment start. See, do remember that Saturn, as I said, is the only planet that gives you permanence. It is the most feared planet in terms of the common layman term, but it is my own favorite planet because I believe that if you are aligned to Saturn right from the early ages, then obviously you are going to be rewarded for permanence. And obviously everybody wants that. It's just that I can see it much faster than maybe somebody else can. So planet has to be always understood in depth first. So what do I mean by this? It is very simple. That means if you are running any Mahadasha, if you take out your chart, what is the meaning of Mahadasha? Mahadasha is nothing, but it is all about the planetary alignment in terms of in a common man term, it is your calendar. It's like a personal calendar. So if you take any of the online available sites and you do your chart and you see in terms of two things that you always need to know whenever you're talking in terms of karmic alignment, and that is enough. One is your D1 chart, which is your Lagna chart, which I will talk in the future slides, and your ascendant, which is the same thing. And what you need to do is just understand the pattern of your, that which is the Mahadashas going. So what I mean by this is very simple, that all the other planets will always give you without judging you. They will always give you, and obviously because they have given you because of their own characteristics, they can always pull it back from you. But Saturn will never do this to you. He's always the strict master. He'll make you work towards it, but eventually give it to you. So whenever a person goes into the Saturn Mahadasha, remember what you need to do. You have to be very simply understand that you have to behave like the planet under whose Mahadasha you're ruling. Now, let me give you a simple example. Let's start with Saturn. So if any one of you is running a Mahadasha or a sub-period which is known as the Antardasha, and the subsequent sub-period which is known as Pratyantardasha of the planet Saturn, you have to become like Saturn. If you become like him, if you understand like him, obviously there is going to be never any kind of a disbalance in your life. So what do I mean by that? Understand the planet Saturn. Saturn is saying become disciplined in your life. Be ready for the delays. If you are expecting that you're going to do hard work today and you get the return tomorrow, be prepared that let Saturn decide when he has to give it to you. You do your hard work and let it go. The conflict is here that people are always thinking, when will I get the benefits of whatever I have done? So Saturn doesn't allow that. Be ready to sacrifice. What do I mean by that? Planet of Saturn represents sacrifice. That means in your life during the Saturn Mahadasha, there will be something in your life that you have to willingly sacrifice. Simple things like, if you like something, like if you're very fond of sweets, decide that on the Saturday you will sacrifice the sweet. It looks so simple, but the power is definitely in terms of what you will get in terms of the return. It asks you to be helpful towards the needy, never be disrespectful towards the elders. These are the all ways where Saturn is representing in the chart. See, the planets are only used. See, what has happened over the past, unfortunately, that the planets have always been used to scare people. But in terms of the Vedic science, they have always used the concept of the planets, the houses and science to come towards a diagnosis. Like you go to a doctor or you go to a medical professional, he will always do your medical scrutiny, he will do your tests, he will do your blood reports, and then he will come to the diagnosis. So the same thing happens in the Vedic science. Unfortunately, it is always used on the fear component. So we need to understand the planet. So Saturn is the accountant of all your karmic debts from the past and present, and is not ready to let you go without you pay that kind of debt. And that is what is going to be the topic of our discussion today. But what happens is very simple. Before I go into the topic of Saturn, remember that what are you actually coming onto this life to do? Very simply, you are coming as a soul to find enlightenment, to pay your karmic debts, and then to burn your karmic debts to, that is what happens. So what does karmic alignment actually do? That means you are coming with a situation in your life, you think it is your destiny, but you have a free will, and to face those challenges by aligning by means of the karmic alignment. The methodology is very simple. There is a diagnosis, the outcome, and remedies to face your challenge. So as I mentioned earlier, the chart, it talks about a lot of areas of your life. If anybody wants to snapshot this, can always snapshot and keep it for easy reference. It talks about different domains of your life. This is basically what in short is your Janam Patri, which is your D1 or the ascendant chart, which talks about the houses and the signs of your chart. Then the same chart actually in a different annotation talks about the diseases related to different parts of your this. I will definitely take up a next session, which is respect to the diseases in your chart. So it is basically the astrology basics works on the principle of the houses, planets, and signs. So houses give you the results, the planets are the agents, and the signs are identifying what has to be done in that kind of a domain for you. This is the Janam Patri, which we are talking about, is talking about different areas of your life, which is known as the houses. Please understand that the number that you see in this are not actually the number of the houses. It is representing the sign. For every ascendant, these numbers will change, but the houses will remain the same. That is where people generally get confused. With respect to the similar thing, you can snapshot this. This is where it is identifying the diseases related to this. In the future sessions, I will connect you with the kind of how we can see in terms of the diseases related to your chart and how we can identify. The planets are indicating a lot of things for you in terms of what it is, in terms of your, the planetary aspects of your soul, in terms of all the other significations of your chart. The rising signs are connected to different planets and how we interpret it in terms of the different aspects of the chart and in terms of the sign. So the first house is indicating your body, your face, your mind, attitude, the self. It's talking about you. Similarly, all these houses of your chart are indicating something for you. So I will not go into the detail of this. You can just snapshot, and because I need to reach to the other topic, but you can just snapshot this and it will help you to identify as per your chart. So if you overlap your own chart, which is the D1 onto this, you will understand what is actually the story behind it. So what happens is very simple. If you want to identify the debt you need to pay, obviously there are a lot of debts. There is nothing that there is only one debt in your chart. But because Saturn is the most powerful in terms of aligning, in terms of understanding the debt for you, I'm taking two case studies to give you an example that what is basically happening if you have Saturn in your ascendant, which if you have a Saturn in the first house, what does it mean for this individual? Let us assume there is a person A and he has Saturn in his first house. How do you identify and understand what is the kind of a debt he needs to pay in this lifetime? And what is very simply is this: before you go to the debt, you need to understand what is the signification of this person with Saturn in the first house for him. It means very simple that this person becomes very mature in his childhood, becomes very serious by means as a kid. So that kind of seriousness comes into this person's life right at the childhood. The childhood of this person somehow gets deprived. There is some kind of a factor that a person feels a restriction in the growing up ages of his life. He strives for discipline in his life always. These people are born to be great lawyers or judges. So most of the people you will see, of course, there are other combinations, but when you have a Saturn in the first house, there is high possibility that this person can be an extremely good lawyer or in the legal fraternity. So they are very fair in their judgment. So anybody has a Saturn in the first house will always be very particular about being fair with anybody person around him. Even if he doesn't know that person, he will always take a very balanced and a fair approach. And they have a very sincere, in a general terms, of course, their marriage is always on the platform of loyalty. That means there is a very good possibility of a very good spouse in this person's life. And always they are inclined towards mature friends, because this is the quality which Saturn imbibes in this person. They love to have mature people around them. So when this thing happens, that you have a Saturn in the first house, what is basically the karmic debts you're going to pay is that the first thing you must remember is where Saturn is sitting himself. So when Saturn is sitting in the first house, I have tabled it in terms of the highlighted the first house. So that means in your past lifetime, you have not taken care of your own self. You took it for granted being a human being, and you did not perform, or you did not look after yourself. And in this lifetime, such person will always feel that shade in their life. That means for them, it becomes the last priority to look after them. They will look after their family, they will look after everybody. But when it comes to them, they will not be able to look after themselves. And what is also important, this is known as the concept of Bhavat Bhavan. That means wherever Saturn sits, the sixth house becomes the most important and the strongest depth for Saturn. That means from first house, if I start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then you reach towards the sixth house. That means the person with the Saturn in the first house will have some kind of karmic debt with respect to the diseases, health, enemy, any of this signification might come in terms of resonation for this person. So very simple way, a very layman way to see what does it mean when Saturn is in your first house. You can see, so what I have done is very simple. You have to look at the Saturn position in your chart, start counting the anti-clockwise, taking Saturn counting as 1. So Saturn is sitting here in the first house, that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So assume in the next case example, if I took Saturn and put him into the fourth house, for this in the second example, what I did is I say, let us assume there is a case number 2 where you have Saturn in the fourth house. So what does it mean is very simple. First, let us understand what is this individual. When you have Saturn in the fourth house, this person cannot trust emotions of others. They become very pessimistic in whatever they are at, paying attention to life. They're never at rest. They're always doing something. They are skeptical with their higher belief. Very difficult for such person to actually believe that there is something known as a higher wisdom. Uncomfortable in a family environment. They love to be isolated. They love to do their things alone, and they are very practical towards the way they look at life. So that also indicates that there is a strong debt. Saturn in the fourth house means that there is a strong debt of the individual with respect to the fourth house significations of the life. What are the fourth house signification? Fourth house means mother, home, vehicle. This is the motherland. There are millions of significations of every house. It is not that it is only restricted to what has been written here. So similarly, there is a debt to the mother, to the motherland that this native has to give. And sixth position from the Saturn means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the sixth position from the Saturn moves towards the ninth house. That means this individual in this lifetime will have to pay a debt with respect to the father, or with respect to the higher education. Any significations of the ninth house, if you try to understand the signification of the ninth house, it will come and give you that kind of thing. So what you need to do is very simple. Take your chart, put your Saturn in any position. You will identify it wherever it is in your chart. Take that house, look at that signification. That is the first disciplined area of your life. That is the first debt that you need to pay. And then start counting 6 places from there. That is the second level of debt you need to pay. So in short, these are the 2 debts this individual will definitely need to pay most strongly amongst other things. Obviously, you need to go into much more detail into understanding some of the planet position in that house, maybe the sign placement in that house. There are a lot of other shades to this. It is not simple as that, but in a layman perspective, you can easily identify what is your karmic debt. So this is basically the simplest way to understand what is your debt in your life that you need to pay the most strongest. And when people generally, if you have to ever understand that if there is some kind of a disbalance in your life, whereas Saturn is concerned specifically, you will definitely start experiencing pain, especially below your knee level. So that is the area of your life where actually Saturn is in full control. So that is how you can interpret it. So when we are doing the sessions of karmic alignment, I'm working in a philosophy right now where I try to align all these purposes in terms of life purpose and work with the people and give them that kind of alignment towards that life. So I'm going to now keep the thing open for discussion. If there's anybody who wants to ask any question, kindly feel free, and kindly please bear with us. We are not very much professional in terms of the presentations we are doing right now, but it's only an attempt to share some kind of a knowledge to you so that you can use it in your daily routine and things like that. So I'll open the session. Anybody wants to ask any question, please feel free to go ahead. You can maybe just raise your hand and you can ask anything, and I will love to answer. You can always ask a general question if you want to, if you don't want to be specific, because any specific question might not be the right thing to answer or address in this domain. But if there's anything on a principal concept, I would love to answer and explain. Please feel and free, go ahead. It might not necessarily be with respect to Saturn alone. So anything if you want to ask, please go ahead. Yes, yes, Vandana.
Hi. Actually, I was quite fascinated seeing the way you were teaching it. So I just wondered, I mean, I have a very different question, not
Yeah.
specific to this. Are you going to be running more such sessions where we can actually pick this up as a skill? Like those of us who are interested?
That is the intention. But remember one thing, at this moment, I'm very, coming from this point of view, and how there was nothing like karmic alignment course that I did, and I'm coming with this thing. I, as an architect, I learned a lot of things on practical domain. So I took my project management skills, understood a lot of factors of Vedic science, because there is no one course which can teach you. I can assure you, if you want to start learning astrology, you will be totally in a disbalance. You will not know how to start. So what happens, that is not the right way of going about it. But to answer your question, yes, I do intend that to take it to the masses. For that, obviously, I need to teach people. And if you have understood, and if you actually sincerely try to read what I've been writing and try to explain to people, believe me, that is enough to pick up Vedic science. But unfortunately, people are always thinking, what is that more? Everybody wants to get in terms of spoon feeding, get it like that. But however best I do, if you start reading about the houses I've been trying to explain, I've been trying to explain different concepts. That is the beginning. If you know the basic fundamentals, because even after doing many courses, people will not be able to see what you need to see. It works simply and beautifully at that. Why that happens, I do not know, but it is the ability to be able to see in those Vedic texts. Because what happens, these classics have been written 5,000 years ago, and over time they have been reprinted and reprinted and reprinted. So there is no foolproof proof that says that this is going to be this way or whatever. So it is basically understanding it in the modern times. I'm sorry I'm making it little longer, but it will help a lot of people to understand that what happens is very simple. You are taking a Vedic science which is 5,000 years ago, and if you try to interpret the Vedic science on the basis of 5,000 years ago and try to interpret in today's time, it will definitely fail. Why? When you are not wearing the same clothes that you were worn 5,000 years ago, you are not believing in the same funda what was 5,000 years ago. You are not, like, for example, today if you want to go abroad, you are thinking, wow, it is something that you really dream for in a general context. But 5,000 years ago, you were only banished, and then you went outside the kingdom. So the interpretation of that is very important in the modern context. Saturn means Kal. Today it is the watch. That time it was something different. So what you have to understand is you have to be progressive. You have learned something, you understand your life, you are an intelligent person, you take that logic and take astrology much further. If you are going to live with only the past, rest assured, I have done so many courses and people will always put astrology to just look at the bad side of life. What about the next? I was very determined. It cannot be so that divinity is telling you the problem and it is not telling you the solution. So I wanted to make a breakthrough, try to make an attempt. So yes, I'm trying to work in kind of opening sessions where people, I try to explain and the basic concept, but obviously over time, it might so happen that I might have to get into the teaching domain also to really be able to justify about what I'm trying to teach, because there are a lot of aspects. Just by simply I told the position of Saturn and in this, that's not the only depth of it. There are a lot of shades to it, because if there is a planet there, it will start changing. If there is a moon and whatever, it will start behaving with respect to. But हम लोग क्या सोचते रह गए, हम बस वहीं उलझ गए कि सैटर्न हमको ये करेगा, मार्स ये करेगा, शनि की महादशा आएगी, एंड एवरीबॉडी स्टार्टेड फियरिंग यू. बट हम जितने लोग यहाँ बैठे हैं, हमारा 60% of our life is governed by Saturn. So if we fear Saturn, nobody can become a prime minister, nobody can become excel in his work. So we will all be at that kind of thing. So anyway, so over the time, yes, I would try to, but I look at it that over time, maybe I might have to bring it to a more close network, because it will become more of the frequent people who are wanting to be associated with it. Because look, Vedic science is nothing that you pressed a button and it came to you. It requires some kind of dedication. It requires some kind of patience. It requires some kind of discipline. Without that, it cannot be done. Simple as that. So I hope I've been able to answer your question. And I, at my level, I'm trying my level best in whatever time I have to share this wisdom. So people should not fear Vedic science. Do not think like a taboo and religious thing and thing like that. And I tell you, the feedback will over time, you will see, will speak much more volumes about what actually the karmic alignment is only one of the drawn thing. But you can identify a person कि अगर एक person का नाम X है, why that person feels this kind of things in their life. So there is a way how you can handle all these things. So there's a research based astrology which I'm really trying to work and thing like that, and divinity supporting in the kind of the timeline that we are living in. And if you keep yourself aware to whatever is happening around you, you will see that by 2020 and 2030 decade, the Vedic science will come very strongly again, especially in India, and obviously in the global network. So that's my strongest belief, which I work on and try to work with people on that domain.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you. Yeah, Chal.
Yeah, hi, Sarvesh.
Yes, Chal.
So going by the thing that you were talking about, the Saturn Mahadasha.
Yeah.
For example, if somebody is undergoing Saturn Mahadasha and Saturn retrograde happens during that period, something that is I'm quite inquisitive about for the past few days.
Yes.
What is to look forward to in that period? I mean, what does that mean? Retrograding Saturn.
Okay, good question. I've recently written an article on Soul Mitra on the retrograde of Saturn. But let me tell you one thing very clearly. It is a very common phenomenon. Any planet will retrograde. Actually, nothing. It is talking about optical illusion. That means when you're looking at different planets, it looks as if the planet is moving behind because the other planets, the speeds are varying. That means if there is a train and there are two trains parallel to each other and one train is faster and you're in the faster one, when you look behind, you look as if that other train is going behind. So that's the same optical illusion happening with respect to planets. See, there are two ways of looking at the Saturn retrograde, or any planet retrograde for that matter. When you have a retrograde planet in your chart, I'm talking about your chart. If you take your chart and if you see your chart and it shows Saturn with an R, that means S-A and R in your chart, it means at the time of your birth, the Saturn was retrograde. Now, what it means is very simple, that when a planet is retrograde, that means you have to do 3 times much more harder paying of your karmic debts. It is simple as that. So if you have a Saturn is placed, let's say in the first house of your chart, it means that the Saturn is also placed in the 12th house, one house behind. So it is always showing other part also. That means you have to pay debt of 2 areas of your life. One, the house behind which Saturn has come from, because it is showing retrograde. That is one concept. That means you have the most strongest debt that you need to pay with 2 houses. It is now not only one, it becomes 2 houses. And if you understand the concept I tried to explain with the 6th position from where Saturn is this, it multiplies to 4 houses. That means 12 in the 12 houses of your chart, it now comes to 4 houses. So your debt becomes much more stronger. Now, when you come to the mundane astrology, what do you mean by mundane astrology? It is about what is happening in the sky right now. So when you're looking in terms of the sky pattern, there will be a retrograding happening all the time. Retrograde is very simple phenomena. That means that whenever the planet is retrograding, it is giving you some more opportunity. Look at it like that. So you have to not fear it. That means now Saturn will retrograde from tomorrow. So it is saying that from tomorrow, it gives you another opportunity. It is coming back to one house. It starts moving behind. So it says that if you have any unfinished business, I'm giving you now Saturn is retrograding till January. So that means it is giving you an opportunity for the next 6 months. If you have realized something in the last 4 or 5 months, please get your act together. I'm giving an opportunity to pay your debts faster. That is simply as that. Now, this interpretation you can take to any planet in your chart. It could be by means of Mercury, could be Mars, could be Venus. The more retrograde planets you have in your chart, remember that the more karmic debt you need to pay. So if you have a Saturn retrograde, you have a Mercury retrograde, you have all this kind of planet which are in retrograde in your chart, that means you have to pay much more debt compared to any individual. But what it means is very simple. It is giving you an opportunity to pay your debts. It is basically your mind. You have to condition your mind. That means you have to behave like that planet, and it gives you an opportunity to pay your debt. So it is simple as that. And it is said in the classics that any planet which is under the retrograde phenomena will give you 3 opportunities in the life to pay that debt. So in the other context, it is giving you 3 options, 3 positions in your life to give you the facility to pay your debt. Only thing is you have to be prepared to walk that line, unnecessarily going around and trying to find solutions कि मैं ये stone पहनूंगा, मैं ये करूंगा, ये किसने बोला उधर जाके इतना बड़ा पूजा करो. उससे Saturn is just laughing at all these things, because over time he will give much more stronger debts in time to come. At that time, it is said that there is high possibility कि आपने कोई remedial किया, it might prevent you and not make you into terms of facing that kind of obligation or kind of situation in your life. But over time, it will come as a rebound with much more additional interest. It is the way how life works. If you take a loan, over time, you have to pay with interest. It is simple. Nothing comes free. Saturn is very simply saying, become disciplined, become patient, and I will reward you and reward you for permanence. It's simple and it's brilliant. So everything has been defined very clearly. It is only the way we have not been able to connect to the dots. That's my interpretation.
Thank you. One more thing.
Please.
We're trying to say here, what I understood is that once we start behaving like Saturn, we become more disciplined, we become more patient, as you were saying, we start the process of paying off debts. Does the process of...
See, there are two sides of it. Obviously, as I said, that there is not that only one planet. आपके chart में तो 7 planets है and 2 shadow nodes of the moon है. They also have some debt. पूरा Saturn का ही debt आपके पास नहीं है. Saturn तो आप handle कर लोगे, but all the other planets also are asking you for something. So you might be all the time focusing towards Saturn, but in your particular chart, it might be the Mercury is the biggest debt that you need to pay. So it will interpret differently for different things. But on a common platform, I'm just trying to explain to you how the retrograde or how any Mahadasha you need to work upon. For example, if you have a Ketu Mahadasha and Ketu is a spiritual planet, so you have to basically behave like Ketu. What do I mean by that? That means Ketu is asking you very simple that every day of your life or your position of your life that you're handling or going through right now becomes spiritual. What it is saying? Start reading something about spirituality. It requires, the soul requires fodder for it to exist. It is simple as that. And what we are doing, we are just feeding the human body. So if you are giving the right amount of fodder through the human soul, it will definitely keep in terms of balance. So what it means that Ketu is saying, आप थोड़ा spirituality में involve हो जाओ, थोड़ा reading करो about spirituality. It is not saying भगवान के सामने जाके आप 8 घंटा बिताओ. It is saying read about little spirituality. थोड़ा meditation करो, थोड़ा spirituality को connection करो. See what is the power of spirituality. See what it is feels about giving to people. दान करो. Try to be good to people. Give it to the needy. So that is what the Ketu is trying to indicate you. If you do these things, then along with it, rest assured, you can become the top CEO of any company and thing like that. But if you are not aligned to that planet, then Ketu has the power that it can transform you and make you sit at home. Because what it says, it is very simple. If you understand as a layman, there are only two times when people actually understand spirituality. One is when they're either born into a domain where their parents or whatever are very highly spiritual or inclined towards spirituality, or in the second format where most of the people go through. That means you go through a tough time in your life, you go into a turbulent phase in your life, and then it makes you sit in one corner of your house where it makes you awaken yourself and awaken into spirituality. So there are only two ways of looking at it. So हमको लगता है कि केतु हमको trouble कर रहा है, but actually what it is trying to do is make you aware about what is the actual purpose in terms of the strength of spiritualism. So that is what it is meaning. So the similar way, you have to understand each and every planet. It will speak out to you. It will tell you what you need to do only if you're ready to listen. It is simple about that. And eventually that is the theme about life, that we are all only, we know at the time of your, childhood that life is simple, but what do? We always complicate it. So that is what it is. So that is something that we need to align. We need to work on that domain, and the answers are always there. That's the philosophy about what I, believe in.
Thank you. Very beautifully explained. Thank you.
Thank you, Archana.
I love the way you talk so passionately about the subject. Thank you.
It is, it is my dream that each one of you or anybody who's into the understanding of what actually the Vedic science is has got the phenomenal possibility of transforming their life and attaining. That is what I meant. Whenever I do a reading, people might be very much, looking at the other components of life. But for me, my entire focus is to advise that person how to work and put their efforts towards finding moksha. And no other domain can give you that kind of possibility. अगर आपको enlightenment का route दिखा रहा है Vedic science and your chart which you are born with, imagine what is the possibility. If you even believe 5%, imagine what it can unfold for you. And that is what is the most brilliant foundation for me. And why am I passionate about? Because I can see this, and that was my determination to bring it to the masses. If they really want to do, there is every possibility, and only one thing is that you get into that domain and you can really transform for life. You don't need any dependency on anything. That is my assurance. Only thing, please look at the Vedic science as a preemptive, preemptive science, not like you have suffered cancer and now you are coming. It is basically about handling and tackling every domain of your life. So that is just to, put it like. Yeah, Neha.
Hi, Sarvesh.
Hi, Neha. Tell me.
Hi. So, like you were discussing about Ketu and Saturn, what is basically their areas. For Ketu, it's a spirituality. And so, what is the basic area for the Mars?
Mars, basically, it's simply telling you, get ready and get into action. Simple as that. Mars represents the energy of your life. And depending on the ascendant you are, I just around half an hour, I shared a post with respect to what actually the ascendant has to start letting go. So if you try to understand that, Mars is basically telling you, let go of all the other things around you. It's time for action. It is simple as that. You have to identify that area of life. It is Mars signifies the commander of the forces of the celestial cabinet. What do they mean by this? It means very simple, that it is an army commander. Now, what you imagine, army commander, if he is going to be kept at home, he'll be fighting. He'll be fighting with, it will be fighting with the environment. It will fight with the husband. Mars represents the husband also for the female. So it will be put into the wrong use. He'll be only fighting. Put him to good use. Use that energy into your profession. Use your energy into doing, play sports, do exercise, sweat it out. So get your energy out. So if you balance your energy towards the right domain of your life, believe me, there is no way you're going to face trouble in that area of life. Otherwise, where Mars would be sitting as a commander of forces. So the simple answer is, use your energy in a positive way. Shed that kind of aggression in your own soul with respect to exercise, playing, putting it into your hard work. I'll give you an example. Let us assume I'm in the Mars domain now, in the Mahadasha or Antardasha, Pratyantardasha. I can use my energy either putting it into the subject that I believe in and bring it to the goodwill of the masses or whatever, put that energy there. If I'm not using it in a positive way, it will come out in a different fashion. I'll be fighting with my children. I'll be fighting with my wife. I will have problem with the neighbor, and so and so, and that whole cycle starts getting. So basically simple, use your energy in a positive way. Mars simply represents the energy in your body and your life. Simple as that.
Right. And then basic of looking at the house of the Saturn and other karmic depths, we can analyze like, okay, in what way
Yes.
we should be putting our energy.
Yeah. So every house of Saturn, I explained with respect to the first house and, with respect to the fourth house, every house has got one kind of a signification and, has got some kind of thing. But also to put it again to you, that is not the only debt that you need to pay. Every planet has a debt associated with your chart, which you need to pay back in the kind of the debt you're living in this lifetime.
And okay, just last question.
Yeah, please.
So even if you don't have any planet in retrograde in your birth chart, but during the times, if that planet is in retrograde, so that will also have an effect on your chart.
No, you should forget about all these things, because see, if you do not have a retrograde planet in your chart, first of all, in the classics, it is said somehow you're lucky. You don't have to pay that kind of debt compared to the person having retrogression. But retrogression, which is a normal phenomena, every planet is retrograding for some time or the other in the sky. So what happens is very simple. As I mentioned, you do not have to focus into what is happening into the sky right now. You focus into what is basically your chart. Because if you are going to focus all the time what is happening in the sky or what is happening into the life or in terms of the chart or in terms of mundane world, but what happens is every planet, every chart is different. Every person is different in terms of their own trajectory, their own chart. It cannot be generalized. जैसे आजकल प्रेडिक्शन का स्टाइल होता है कि सैटर्न अभी इस हाउस में गया तो ये होने वाला है. देखो, दिस इज ओनली 10% एक्यूरेसी. टू गेट इनटू द 100% एक्यूरेसी, one needs to actually go into the depth of that chart. So it is very, please do not think that the way I'm explaining to you, it is not so simple that you took it and started predicting on your chart. Please never do that. It is simply to give you some kind of a notion. Please do not analyze and entire knowledge of your chart just by these sutras. There are a lot of shades to Vedic science. Obviously, you need to go into the depth of it. It needs to allow you to be able to see it. And over time, with patience, somebody takes 5 months, somebody takes 1 year, somebody has been working 12 years. It all depends from person to person.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you
so
much.
Don't worry. Yeah, you focus onto your own life, and obviously everything will work in your benefit.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I don't know your name. I just see PD. Please go ahead.
Hi, Sarvesh. This is Prabodh. I'm logged into my computer as well.
Yeah, right. Please. Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you for such an informative session. We really enjoyed it. I think I can say that on behalf of everyone over here. So my question is regarding planets. What is the significance? How does a planet react when it's in a deliberated state in a kundali?
Okay. What did I say in my early? Is there any other question, or should I respond?
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you regarding how Guru reacts, Guru Brihaspati.
Okay, there is never a straight based answer. Remember one thing, what did I say in my earlier discussion, that what the interpretation of the planets which has happened 5,000 years ago will not stand ground today. What do I mean by that? It has been my personal observation. I'm talking about me. I'm not talking about what others are saying. But what I've realized in my own reading is that if the planet is either debilitated or powerful, it all depends upon the position of that planet in that particular house. And to go on record, I can tell you this, that in the kalyug that we live in, it is much better to be under a debilitated state of the planet. Why do I say so? It means very simple. That means you will be much more inclined to change yourself as per the debilitation. If any planet in your chart shows some kind of debilitated state, it means कि उतना ही आप आसानी से, if I'm telling you to do something, to become a new leaf, to work your things in that kind of direction of your life, you will be much more accustomed. It will be easy for you to change your life. If you are in terms of a exaltation of the planet, that means koi bhi planet exaltation condition mein hota hai, what it means that that area of your life, it will become much more stronger for you to change yourself. So the modern interpretation of this planet exaltation and thing is totally, I look at it in a total different manner. Please do not take it and use it in that direct fashion. And it also depends on where the planets are situated. For example, if you know little about Vedic science or astrology, the 6th, 8th and 12th are considered as a dushtana bhav. That means they are the house which troubles you, but they are the same houses which can really give you a lot of things. And that is the house where you should never have an exalted planet. Why do I say so? Because that houses will make the planet much more stronger. That means your obstacles with respect to your diseases becomes much more stronger with respect to the 6th house. If you have an exalted planet in the 8th house, your obstacles in life will become much more stronger. If you have planets in the 12th house which are exalted, it will make your life much more difficult in terms of the, the payback that you're doing, in terms of the losses that you're going to face in life. So it is also important to see the interpretation of the chart. When I looked at somebody looked at my chart many years ago, they always looked at the wrong side of the chart. But what is the beauty of Vedic science is that every chart is special. If the divine decided to make you a human being, there is a life purpose for each one of us. That much is something that I can assure you with the kind of learnings, a little knowledge that I possess. You can be rest assured that each one over here or in this world has got some kind of a life purpose. It is only about identifying it and aligning to that. So please do not worry about debilitation and things like that, but it can be to your most benefit actually, depending on your ascendant and the placement. And obviously you have to look at the entire chart to come to a conclusion.
Well, thank you for your answer. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, good. I will try to see that we do much more sessions in a very easy way. Very difficult to bring it in a very simplified manner, because unless you do not know the basic and the thumb rule of the Vedic science, extremely difficult to explain it in that kind of a domain. But at my level, I'm trying to be on the other side and try to see how people can really look at it and fashion it in at least to that manner where they can use it in their daily routine and things like that.
Thank you, Suresh.
Yeah, well, thank you for attending.
I had another question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry, I'd bother you. So it's a different kind of question. It's I'm not sure, you might have encountered it in the past.
Yeah, please.
How does any individual know whether he's ready to receive knowledge or not?
Can you please?
And are there any?
Can you please specifically ask me in terms of knowledge is a very wide subject. Knowledge could be in any domain.
So I've been getting signs. I'm going to get very specific and very personal.
Yeah, please.
I hope you don't mind.
I have no issues unless it's a recorded platform, so it's up to you. I am open to answer your any question.
It's not that personal.
Yeah, okay.
So I've been encountering a few numbers for a couple of years now. 1111, 1111 is one of the most prominent numbers that I encounter everywhere. Be it over the cell phone, be it over the clock, be it over a car, a house number. So this is something that I always think about, and I have not been able to get an answer regarding the same. Can you shed some light on this?
Okay, I will tell you my own personal experience, okay, and how I went about it. Many years ago, when actually I was connecting to the Vedic science, before I got into this domain, I started seeing all these numbers and I used to discuss with my family. I went around the internet, tried to ask a lot of people, but believe me, there was no concrete answer. Everybody just told me, ye aisa hai, spiritual awakening ka time hai, whatever. The real answer to this is very simple. You need to identify from your chart and see what is the actually domain, because these are only signs the universe is trying to tell you. There is no concrete answer. It is telling you that you are on the right path. If you ask me very specifically, 111 indicates that you are on the right path. What you are thinking in terms of spirituality is the right way. So if you are, whatever you're thinking in your mind, whatever you intend to do, if you're wanting to do alignment in any kind of spiritual domain, the answer for you is very simple. As per my knowledge and study, is that it is telling you that you are thinking the right thing. Simple as that.
Well, thank you, Sarvesh.
Yeah. But obviously, if you want to do specific thing, you can identify this from your chart, and you can guide you in terms of how you can see that which is the domain of spirituality you can connect to, so that is all possible.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. Are there any questions? Anybody would like to, since this is an opportunity, if there's anybody wants to ask any question, please feel to ask with respect to the Vedic science or anything you have in terms of any domain. Otherwise, I'll end this session in 5 minutes. And we have shared some links with respect to the the Facebook and the YouTube, and whoever is interested can always share with their friends and read about it. That's the only way that people can actually relate to and understand what actually is the power of the Vedic science. Because आज के ज़माने में कहते हैं कलयुग में everybody wants to see results. Nobody believes unless there is no results seen, and that is that's the reality that we live in. So if there's no questions, please allow me to end this session. Thank you for your time, and I do hope that with little support and from your end, we will be able to keep this moving and do many more sessions. And thank you once again for making it to this session, and we really appreciate. And if there's anything specifically you want to reach out and you felt that on this forum you could not ask, kindly reach out to me directly. My numbers are mentioned in this in the inbox, and you can reach out. So thank you Ziva, thank you Yogita for being there, and thank you all.